Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. I'll just let everyone get settled in and let Zoom do its little thing. Brill. I hope it's a lovely day where you are, and I look forward to sharing the next 45 minutes to an hour with you all this wonderful Wednesday. You'll notice you probably got a message that your videos are off, and that's just due to the size of the webinar today. And we will be sharing a recording of this afterwards, so you'll have noticed the recording button as well. That said, please do feel free to make use of the Q&A feature here on the Zoom platform to ask any questions as we go through this. I'll keep an eye on that, and I'll also come back to any questions towards the end of the presentation section. So hopefully we're all in the right place. I'm delighted to talk to you today about how you can make your website your very best salesperson, and the HubSpot founded growth-driven design methodology that sits behind this. Let's make sure that that's what we're all here for. So appearing on your screen in just a second will be a couple of questions. First of all, I want to know, how long has your current website been live? Is it a newbie, less than 1 year, 1 to 3 years, 3 to 5 years, or is it maybe getting on a little bit in website terms at more than 5 years old? I'll give you a few seconds for those to filter through. Thanks to everyone who's just joined in the last couple of minutes as well. We're just getting started. Should have a poll on your screen which is asking about how old your current website is, just to get a pulse from around the room. Okie doke. So I'll show you that one. So a fair mix across the board. This is absolutely fantastic, and hopefully today we'll touch on why this methodology and concept is relevant to you, regardless of where you are in your current website journey. And then the second thing, one sec, is I want to know, what's the one thing that frustrates you the most about your current website? And these are just a few of the most common ones. So the look and feel of it, or the overall design, that it doesn't generate enough leads for your business. It could be that it's not visible and bringing you in traffic from Google and other search engines. Or it could be that it's difficult to update. I'll give you a couple of seconds again. And if it's anything else, again, we can cover that in the Q&A towards the end of this presentation. A couple more seconds. Cool. Thank you. Thanks everyone for engaging with that. So again, quite a mix across the board there. So a few different reasons that we're all here today. All right. So given that there is a fair mix of answers there, I think it's safe to assume that we might share some of the same challenges. And hopefully over the course of this presentation, I'll be able to convince you that there is a shared solution. So let's get stuck in. First off, I just want to very quickly address why Moment have aligned ourselves with HubSpot's growth-driven design methodology, and hopefully assure you that I am indeed qualified to talk to you on this topic. So our mission is to help good brands grow sustainably. And for that to happen, it's important for us to focus on the kind of web and marketing activities that generate a return on investment for our clients. I've worked in marketing, primarily digital marketing, for the last 10 or so years, having started life in global accounts at Microsoft before moving to large and small agencies and working in the UK and overseas in Australia. And I believe what I've brought to Moment is a well-rounded perspective on what marketing can be, namely a revenue generator and not the cost center that it's long been thought of as. To widen this mission, I'm an advisory board member for industry body, the Marketing Society, as well as the Data and Marketing Association. I guest lecture at universities like Robert Gordon in Aberdeen, and holistically, we aim to influence and affect change within our industry at all levels and across the world. It was a natural fit then for us to align ourselves with HubSpot as a technology partner. We know firsthand the importance of streamlining your sales and marketing activities to achieve growth. And so leveraging their best-in-class customer relationship management, or CRM, sales and marketing automation complements our workflows entirely. For a long time, we've believed in their inbound marketing philosophy, one that centers marketing around helping people, because when good for your customer means good for the business, your company can grow better over the long term. And so adopting another methodology of theirs in the shape of growth-driven design was the perfect opportunity for us to take a better approach to website design to the market. And that's where we begin. If you ask most people what the role of their website is, they'll likely tell you that it's to be a digital brochure or an online shop window. And that's the first assumption that we're here to tackle. Put simply, your website should be and can be your number one marketing asset and your number one salesperson. If you don't believe me at this juncture, that's okay, but please permit me the next few minutes to convince you otherwise. What HubSpot found was that 42% of marketers only make impactful improvements to their website once or less each year. Think about that for a second. Given that your website can be your number one marketing asset, the first place people go to get information and get a first impression of your business, and that it can also be your number one salesperson working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to nurture people through the sales process. Instead of being neglected for years with minimal updates, shouldn't this important asset get the resources and attention it needs to continue being a top performer? So what's standing in your way? Now, we fundamentally believe that the traditional web design process is broken, and we know that that can make it frustrating. Let's think about what you have to do each time you embark on a web redesign journey. First, you build a team of experts that can join or lead you along the way. The assembled team often consists of people from your own company and some outside experts like a web design or marketing agency and contracted developers. Next, you need a budget. More often than not, you'll request a budget from your executive team or senior leadership. The average website redesign for a small to medium-sized business can go from between 12 and 15,000 all the way up to £80,000, and even more for an enterprise business. And just like a trip up Mount Everest or planning your dream vacation, a website redesign is a long journey. On average, it takes 3 to 6 months to build a redesigned website. You plan every step of the timeline, when things are delivered, when things need to be approved, and when things are handed off to specific teams. Yet how many times does a website project go over budget or miss a deadline? Think about your previous web design projects. Were they launched on time? Did they stay in scope and on budget? Things happen and obstacles arise. And what we find is that most teams have been approaching web design projects in the same way for the last 15 to 20 years. But if you take a step back, there are two main systematic problems that shouldn't be ignored. First, traditional web design is risky for your business and for any business. Why? Because of the large upfront cost, the amount of dedicated time, energy, and resources, and the project usually still goes over budget and beyond its delivery date. After all of that, it's still unclear how much the website is going to impact the bottom line of the business. Eventually, the site goes live, hopefully, and it's time to celebrate. Finally, the long, grueling project is done and the team can return to all the other things that were set aside during the last 6 months while building the website. The second problem with traditional web design is that it produces poor results in terms of the set it and forget it approach that's often adopted. And in considering both of those conclusions, that traditional web design is one, risky, and two, produces poor results, it's easy to see how the traditional website design process could be described as broken. Now, it's important to note that that's not due to a lack of talent. There are often many talented people involved in web projects. And it's not due to lack of budget either. Even projects that have a relatively unlimited budget, these problems still arise. And the problems happen because of a broken playbook and set of rules. So what are you supposed to do? What if this is how you've always built websites? Well, there is a better way. It's why we're here today, and it's called growth-driven design. Growth-driven design, in brief, is a smarter approach to web design that reduces the frustration and the risk of traditional web design. Growth-driven design drives optimal results by learning about your visitors through data and continually improving the performance of the site. And growth-driven design improves the entire company through sharing user learnings with other departments and helps users achieve their goals by using your website. Think of the role of the website not just for your marketing and sales function, but your human resources and customer service teams. Versus traditional web design then, growth-driven design spreads risk, allowing you to launch quickly and improve over time. It leverages key concepts from lean and agile ways of working to deliver projects in time and on budget. And it gives you confidence that results are going to be achieved as decisions are driven by data rather than opinions and wrapped around a process of continuous improvement. Whereas a traditional web design project relaunches a website in its entirety every few years, with inconsistent improvement and difficult to measure impacts on business results in the meantime, a growth-driven design process gets out of the gates quickly and records measurable impact over that time period. Thanks to data-driven decision-making, when combined with your wider sales and marketing efforts, results exceed those of traditional web design time and time again. Stay tuned for the numbers behind these claims. First, let's rewind a little and clarify what exactly growth-driven design is and why it's different to what you're likely to have experienced from a website design process before. I'll add a caveat at this stage that this is going to be a very, very high-level overview of the growth-driven design process. And I'm going to throw a few different concepts and frameworks into the mix. The intention of this session isn't for you all to become experts in growth-driven design. There'll be future sessions for that, but rather to convince you that there is a better way to approach things, which we'll go into in much greater detail in those sessions. So, how does growth-driven design work? The growth-driven design methodology has three major stages: the strategy up front, the launchpad, and the continuous improvement phase. Let's discuss each one. First is the strategy phase. Now, the goal of the strategy phase is to develop an empathetic understanding of your audience and how the website can solve problems along their journey. Try to imagine the world from your audience's perspective. Who are they? What challenges are they facing? What are their goals? And where does the website fit in as part of that? There are several steps you'll need to take to complete the strategy phase. First, you'll define the website goals by reverse engineering the overall business goals. And as I said, identifying how the website will influence them. The website goals should be SMART goals, so specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely, to help you properly measure the website's impact on the business. Next, to understand your audience, you'll need to do user experience or UX research. The research may be qualitative, quantitative, observational, or a combination to uncover user insights that guide you through the rest of the strategy stage. The next step is called jobs to be done. This framework will help you identify the underlying needs that drive your audience and what it takes for them to switch to your company's products or services as a solution. Following jobs to be done, you'll refine your fundamental assumptions. This step involves boiling down what you already know about your market, your business, and your website. You'll refine or create new user problem statements, unique value propositions, situational triggers, current user habits, switching anxieties, and more. Fundamental assumptions are at the core of success of your users, business, and the website. The next step in the strategy is a website-specific strategy that includes elements such as the website's architecture, on-site search engine optimization, or SEO, that you might have heard of, key sections and pages, integrations, technical requirements, and more. And the last step of the strategy stage of growth-driven design is for you to brainstorm an initial wish list for your new website. The wish list will contain creative and impactful website ideas that aim to solve your users' challenges, provide value to the user, and help your business reach its goals. The website wish list will have anywhere between 75 and 200 different ideas, including site elements, sections, pages, specific features and modules, integrations, and more. With a strong wish list of high-impact ideas, you'll begin the second phase of the growth-driven design methodology, which is the Launchpad website. The goal here is to quickly build a website that looks and performs better than what you have today, but isn't a final product. Rather, your Launchpad is the foundation upon which you'll build and optimize. The main driver for launching quickly and without sacrificing quality is to collect data from real users interacting with the site. Then you're equipped to make better, data-driven decisions on how to improve the website. Launching quickly also creates a quicker time to value versus 6 or more months of a traditional web design project. So how can you quickly build a Launchpad in this stage of the methodology? Well, there are a few key areas you can focus on to accelerate the launch of a remarkable and effective website. First, what we do is look to find a way to customize our approach to building the new website that maximizes acceleration whilst maintaining quality. There are a number of ways to make that happen. Each website is uniquely different and will require a mix of approaches to make sure it's well-performing as a Launchpad. This is why it can be helpful to work with experienced HubSpot partners to guide you on the best approach for your new Launchpad. The second way you can accelerate your Launchpad website is by running design sprints on high-impact pages and sections. A design sprint is a short, concentrated time period focused on solving a problem using brainstorming, design, prototyping, and testing. Design sprints help you use the team's collective knowledge and generate the best possible ideas. But they also help you come to a high-quality prototype of your new website in record time. Next, for anyone who's built a website in the past, you may know that developing high-quality content, including text, images, and video, is one of the most challenging parts of a website build and often causes huge delays. Having an effective content development process And great content collaboration tools can accelerate your content production speed and increase the quality of the content you produce. The last way you can accelerate the build of a Launchpad website is through investing in internal efficiencies. Internal efficiencies include switching from a waterfall process to an agile or scrum process, building an internal library of pre-built templates, removing developer dependencies so marketers can make updates on their own, and leveraging collaboration tools, and much, much more. In case you still need convincing, there are a few further benefits to developing a Launchpad website versus the traditional all-or-nothing approach to website redesign. It allows you to get out of the bubble, or perhaps more accurately, the roundabout of multi-stakeholder decision-making based on opinions, and lets your users do the talking, optimizing based on real-world results. As mentioned, it removes the risk of investing your time, effort, and money upfront, and it allows you to buy into the initial concept and then iterate. As a result, you can realize a quicker time to value and return on investment. And ultimately, it's just a much nicer, more pleasant, and more productive process to go through. Once the strategy has been created then, and your Launchpad website is live, you'll move into the continuous improvement stage of the growth-driven design methodology. The goal of the continuous improvement stage is to start identifying the high-impact actions that you can take to grow your business based on real user data. Once you've launched the website, it may be difficult to stay focused on improving the high-impact items at any given time, so you'll follow a simple yet powerful agile process: plan, build, learn, and transfer. Let's look at each step. In the planning step of the cycle, you'll define the most impactful items to build or optimize at that moment in time to drive towards your goals. This starts by determining an area of focus that your team can rally their improvement efforts around. Now, focus is key. The challenge is there are many areas that you could work on, from messaging to layouts to building new pages to optimizing existing ones. The wide range of options can make it overwhelming and difficult to determine where to best focus your time. To solve this, we'll use the website performance roadmap. The performance roadmap is a framework for you and your team to ensure you're spending time and energy on improving the most impactful areas. The roadmap helps you set clear expectations with your boss or team lead or stakeholders on exactly what you should and should not be working on and why. And because there are specific metrics to measure for each focus area, you can easily measure and report on your progress, building a peak performing website. What does the performance roadmap look like, you ask? There are three major themes: establish, optimize, and expand. The establish theme revolves around the core functional activities that you can do when you've built something new. Within this theme, there are three focus areas. First, you can focus on harvesting low-hanging fruit, or building high-impact items that are easy or quick to accomplish after the launch. Secondly, there's building an audience to collect data and run experiments. And third, there's confirming the website is driving the intended value to those users. The optimize theme revolves around improving the user experience and business performance of existing items on the site. The three focus areas under optimize include improving usability on the site to ensure visitors can unlock value as quickly as possible, doing conversion rate optimization, or CRO, to reduce the friction and steps in your conversion funnels, and personalization to provide a hyper-relevant experience for each user or user segment to ensure they get the perfect experience for their needs. Lastly, the expand theme revolves around building new items on the website to expand the impact the website has. The 3 focus areas within the expand theme include building new digital products onto the website, such as tools, directories, digital resources, or interactive experiences. Expand into developing new items on the website to improve other areas of the customer journey map, such as new customer experience, customer website, or advocacy programs, for example. And expand into using the website to help other teams achieve their goals and help the business grow holistically. This could be building items on the website to help the sales team prospect, qualify, and close deals. It could be helping the HR team recruit more quality candidates and retain current employees, or helping the customer service team reduce support tickets and inbound inquiries. There are many ways you can use the website as a tool to help the whole company grow. Now, the website performance roadmap is ordered to match the life cycle of a particular website. So this is just an example. After your launchpad is live, you'll often focus on the establishing and optimizing steps. And over time, you'll progress to focusing on the expand step. Every website is different, and it's key that you let the performance metrics and experience guide the flow of your focus. Each quarter, you should reassess how to divide your continuous improvement efforts between each focus area based on those goals. And once your quarterly focus area is set, it's important not to shift it. Shifting focus can create a lot of motion with little actual improvement. So once you've determined your focus area, it's time to complete the user experience research, UX research, to understand the challenges and friction points your website users are running into that's preventing their progress towards what you want them to achieve. And once you have a good understanding of the challenges, your team will brainstorm all sorts of new action items to build. These items will drive user value while improving the performance metric in the current focus area. All ideas should relate to your team's current focus area. With your list of brilliant ideas, it's now time to prioritize the list to identify the highest impact action items you can implement to boost the performance in that focus area. And here's where, based on your workload capacity of your team and any external teams, you'll be able to go down that list and select the high impact action items until you run out of capacity. Now, anything you don't get to will be reconsidered in the planning step of the next cycle. With those high impact action items in hand for the current sprint, you'll write out action item cards. Now, an action item card has 4 key elements. First, you'll write an outline of the specific customer scenario in the form of a job story. Then you'll write a hypothesis statement about your proposed change and the impact it will have. The third step is to document any research or data that will back up your hypothesis. And finally, you'll create an experimental design for how you plan on testing the hypothesis. While you're doing this, it's crucial to keep the team focused on answering the following questions. Why do we believe this? What is our expected impact? What effort is going to be required? And how are we going to design our experiment? An example of a job story focuses on your particular buyer persona, as we mentioned before. This example is for a business-to-business focused customer who may be in this situation. As an industry professional in your particular niche, when I'm trying to achieve a particular function of my role, I want to deliver my work as efficiently and effectively as possible so I can be recognized and promoted. Now, your own job stories will be much more detailed and specific to your persona. And in fact, there's endless stories that could be written based on your own situation. These could be more B2B or more consumer focused. An example of the hypothesis statement we mentioned could relate to improving the conversion rate of a particular page. So you might ask, for my buyer persona visiting a product page on my website, we believe that changing the request to email or call to an interactive website form will increase our conversion rate and measurable lead generation. Again, yours are likely to be much more specific to your situation, and you can test an endless number of combinations. Now that you have a focus and prioritized action items to implement, you can move into the second step in the continuous improvement cycle, build. The goal of the build step is to host a working sprint with a cross-functional team to complete all the high-impact action items. Just like a sports team, your team will swarm on the action items collaboratively and tackle them in an aggressive fashion. These action items, as their focus, they'll sync schedules, meetings, and work times. In addition to building the action items, the team also needs to set up the experiments, as outlined in the experimental design, in order to properly measure the impact the action item has and validate or invalidate the original hypothesis. You'll launch what you've built and let your audience interact with your experiments. After a period of time, which will be different for every experiment, you'll then move on to the learn step of the cycle. In the learn step, you'll take a step back to review the experiments you're running, to extract learnings about your audience. Was your original hypothesis correct, or did you prove it wrong? And if it was proven wrong, this is okay and fairly common, especially when first starting out and trying bold ideas. It's critical to assess the outcomes to learn more about your audience. What did their actions and behaviors tell you about them? And how could you incorporate these learnings into future action items? This is such a critical step because the more you repeat the cycle, the more you learn about your audience. The more you learn about your audience, the more likely you'll have success in providing value and hitting your goal metrics. The final step of the continuous improvement cycle is the transfer step. And the goal there is to share your learnings and exchange ideas throughout the entire company to improve the entire business, not just one of the parts. Between internal communications and meetings, you'll share your user learnings from the experiments you performed the previous month. You can make recommendations based on the learnings of how other departments could improve. You can ask questions to other departments to pull insights and fill gaps in your user research. And you can also use this time to ensure there is a consistent user experience during all interactions with your company. You look for possible collaboration opportunities with other departments and teams. The important thing to remember is that this process is cyclical, because you'll continually repeat the steps, building momentum each time you repeat them. Generally, the cycle is repeated every 2 weeks in sprints, with new action items being built to impact the current focus for the quarter. Eventually, you learn and improve enough on that focus area and meet the metric goal that was set. Then you'll move to a new theme or focus on the website performance roadmap to start the cycle again. Hopefully you're still with me. We're on to the last few slides. And what we wanted to answer here is that when you start using growth-driven design for your website, what can you expect? How does it compare to the traditional web design process? So thousands of companies all around the world are already finding more success with growth-driven design. HubSpot conducted a survey, and I'm happy to admit this isn't brand new. This was back in 2017 on the state of growth-driven design, and they spoke to 350 agencies using the practice in more than 40 countries to understand the impact that this method was having on their clients. And so here are just a few of those results. Firstly, marketers and businesses who use growth-driven design tend to see a quicker time to value and better lead generation by launching their new website in nearly half the time. On average, it took only 60 days to launch the new website using growth-driven design, and the site was launched on time and on budget. Once launched, they rapidly improved it by using the real visitor data from the new site. Those same agencies said when they built a website using traditional web design, it takes almost double the time, it's launched often 2 weeks late, and it's left alone after it's launched. As we mentioned at the start, we know that redesigning a website can be a frustrating process, but marketers who use growth-driven design find the process much more enjoyable than traditional web design. And if that's not enough for you and your team, here's the most important reason for you and your team leads to choose growth-driven design. This process drives better business growth. The 350 agencies in more than 40 countries reported seeing 14% higher website traffic, 16.9% higher leads, and a whopping 11.2% more revenue when using growth-driven design on their website instead of traditional website design. This data speaks for itself. So if you're trying to grow a business, growth-driven design is the best option for your next website redesign. And where do we fit into this? Our role is in maximizing those results. And we do that by working at the intersection of your business operations, your past, present, and prospective customers, outside forces such as the market, competitors, and technology. We can be completely neutral in collecting data, feedback, and information from all three of those sources, and are able to make our own recommendations based on what we see will capitalize by observing patterns across those three areas. As an outside agency, this is part of the value we bring, our ability to be the independent researcher and voice for all three areas to develop the best possible ideas and action items. Admittedly, there's one area in which we might be slightly biased, but we do practice what we preach, having hosted our own website on the HubSpot Content Management System, or CMS, for more than a year. And as always, there's great data to demonstrate why. Firstly, the majority of agencies implementing the growth-driven design methodology are doing so using the HubSpot software. That's 100% not to say that the same approach won't work on other popular CMS systems, such as those listed here. It will, but the strategies are at best when they're backed by market-leading tools that were crafted for exactly this manner of implementation versus being cobbled together over time. And compared to the next most popular CMS for growth-driven design, WordPress, the bottom line results of more leads and more revenue were notably higher when the tactics we've been discussing were delivered on HubSpot's own system. I'm sure that doesn't come as a surprise, but it's exactly why we back the technology above any other. And that's that. To recap, the growth-driven design methodology starts with an intense planning and research in the strategy phase, which concludes with the creation of a solid wish list. The wish list is built into the Launchpad website. In this phase, you're building a website that looks and performs better than what you have today, but is only a starting point for your website success. Then you'll start the continuous improvement phase with month-over-month improvement. This process is a great alternative to the existing nightmare of a launch with the set it and forget it method used in traditional website design. Now you're continuously improving, using the website to help all aspects of the business grow and seeing results each month. Of course, marketing and sales are layers that live on top of growth-driven design. Think of growth-driven design like a sports car, but you still need gas or marketing and sales for that car to drive. To develop a peak-performing growth business, you need all three working together as they're all interconnected and working off each other. All of the challenges associated with the broken traditional web design process are now solved with the new playbook, growth-driven design. We firmly believe that this is the future of web design and the playbook for building a peak-performing website. Hopefully, you're feeling inspired to grow as marketers, team leads, and potentially web designers, and to grow out of the broken traditional web design process to start building peak-performing sites using growth-driven design. And so for our very last poll here today, I would love to know if you're interested in learning more about growth-driven design. As I mentioned, we'll be producing a lot more resources, a lot more content on this topic. And we'd love to be able to share that with you and invite you to future sessions. I'll leave that for just a second while I check the Q&A. So I'll run through a couple of these now. So we had a question around how you undertake UX testing in your website. And this is definitely one of those topics we'll be diving into in another session because it deserves an hour or more to itself. So real UX testing is about getting the site and the product in front of real users. So understanding how they're using the current pages, sections, features, tools that are on the website, where they're dropping off. So it uses analytics, and we really focus on actionable analytics to understand what they're doing and draw those hypotheses and hypothesis statements about why that's happening, and therefore come up with experiments to test how we can lead them instead to our own objectives. So there's quite a few tools, quite a few that are baked into HubSpot itself, plus others, including things like a Hotjar for heat mapping, for example, which looks at where users are on a page. And we'll definitely be covering that in future sessions. Great question, though. That's great. I'll come back here in one sec. So assuming that you can start the growth-driven design process now without having to redesign the site, so you can kickstart the process. Yeah, this is a fantastic question. So if you have potentially done a redesign quite recently, if you already have the website, can you start growth-driven design now with what you already have? You absolutely can, and it's a case of treating the existing website as your launchpad. You might do an audit of that, again, to understand the most valuable pages and sections of that site. But as long as you've got your starting point, you can move into the continuous improvement phase and start to establish, optimize, and expand using those themes from the basis you already have. And again, it doesn't necessarily matter whether that website lives on HubSpot or not. This can be applied to other CMS systems. Yeah, same question. So you can just jump straight forward to the continuous improvement phase. The last open question I have here, please do feel free to use the Q&A if there's any others. So collecting the data, can you only do that if it's connected to HubSpot CMS? What if it's built via WordPress? Can we link it to HubSpot to get the data? You absolutely don't have to have your website on the HubSpot CMS. It's our preferred tool. We'll always recommend it for new projects. But if you've already got a website on WordPress or Drupal or Joomla or many others, you can apply the same principles. In terms of collecting the data, it's about auditing where that data is going to come from, where it needs to flow to in order to be actionable. And we talk a lot, as I mentioned, about actionable analytics, so data that you can get insights from and really use. You can put HubSpot's scripts behind something like WordPress so that your website forms feed directly into the CRM system. You can then use other tools like Google Analytics being very popular, Google Search Console from a search point of view, those other third-party tools, things like Hotjar for heat mapping, all on WordPress via plugins and extensions to get the same data, to do the same user research, and start to draw the same conclusions that you can wrap into the continuous improvement phase of your growth-driven design process. So 100%, you can link WordPress and HubSpot, and you can link a whole bunch of other things to help optimize your WordPress website. I'll come through, I'll just check the chat here. Cool, thank you. Sorry that I did drop out briefly. I'm glad I managed to get back quite quick. Are there Any other questions? Yeah, here's a good one. So examples of actionable data. So what do I mean by actionable data? We often think of this in terms of something like Google Analytics. Now, Google Analytics is great. It's free, which is fantastic. You can put it behind pretty much any website, and it will tell you things about the amount of traffic that you're getting. But sometimes we find that stops short of being directly actionable. And by that, I mean, it's great to know how many overall users are coming to your website, but you don't necessarily know who those users are. And that's a big limitation of some of the existing analytics solutions. One of the really powerful things that HubSpot can do is, because the website in the content management system, or CMS, is built on top of the customer relationship management, or CRM tool, you're getting real user data about how real people are using the website. So once that's tied up, which if it's all in HubSpot, that's fine. If it's working between HubSpot and another platform, it's slightly different. But what you can tell is if you've got someone's email address, contact information in your database, you can view the website pages that person is viewing, what journey they are taking through the website, what buttons they're clicking on, where they are exiting the website. And you can start to think, based partly on your buyer persona from the strategy stage, and based partly on what's happening in the real world with real people, you can start to design those experiments about, what if we had a form here? What if we had a different journey from this page to another page? So by actionable data, I mean getting really granular on what real people are doing, and it goes beyond just the high level numbers that you will get from a platform like Google Analytics, and not to say that they're not useful. That definitely still has a place. Can it only be done with HubSpot CMS? So, as I say, there's a couple of limitations if it's between other systems. So, running HubSpot as the CRM at a minimum, we would always recommend. So that's going to store your contact information, people's simple things, names, email addresses. If it's B2B, job titles. If it's B2C, consumer information, what products have they bought from your website, and so on. That data is hugely valuable, and it can be imported via integrations with a huge number of different platforms. So the HubSpot WordPress integration is really good. The HubSpot Shopify integration is pretty good from an e-commerce point of view. But it all just works at that next level when the content itself is hosted on the HubSpot CMS system, to the extent that then it can work two ways. So you can create personalized web pages based on the information you have in your CRM. So let's say you've come to our website for the first time and you've submitted a form. So that's sent your name and email address into our CRM. Now I've got that data and we can track. So once you come back to the website, rather than having the same page for you, I could have a responsive page that says, "Hi, name, welcome back." Now that's a bit of a cheesy example, but it's that kind of experience that having the content and the CRM database truly integrated on HubSpot, that's what you can empower. And we're seeing a lot more of these personalized experiences coming to the fore because they drive better business results. And sort of the really high level example of that, or if you look at why platforms like Uber, platforms like Airbnb, why they're winning, why they've risen to prominence, it isn't often because the product is any different. I'm sitting in the back of an Uber, same as sitting in the back of any cab, but they've created and invested in personalized user experiences And that's really the approach that we're taking with growth-driven design to any business's website. If you can make that experience as personal as possible, you're going to increase your conversion rates and you're going to win more business at the end of the day. I hope I kind of answered that. Nice one, thank you. All right, folks, thank you so much for your attention. I really appreciate everyone's time. Please do feel free to follow up with us, connect with us, and I look forward to sharing even more content on growth-driven design in future sessions. Hopefully you've taken away just some ideas today and are somewhat inspired to change marketing for the better on the way to a better world. Thank you.